Heart Mia More with our host,
Hi y'all, I'm Elle.
and I am Coach Charletta. I'll give you a little bit more about myself. I am the owner of Masterpiece Services and Solutions, where I provide life coaching services and notary services. So today, this episode is going to be
Y'all, we're diving into something a little bit more deep, a little bit more serious. We're talking about depression and grief, grieving friendships, grieving loss of loved ones or situations. Because yes, you can grieve situations. So if you're like me and you are a crybaby, go ahead and grab your tissues. It's gonna be a wild ride.
Yes, it is. Depression and grief is a really heavy topic. And one of the things that I've learned over time, a little bit more about myself, I'm also an educator and I have a degree in psychology. I have my master's and a specialist degree. One of the things concerning depression, it seems like it's a taboo thing that we really don't want to talk about. We don't want to share with our doctors what we're going through. And then sometimes, especially for some of us, we don't have the luxury to feel like we can deal with depression. You have to keep going. So we override it. Mm-hmm. So delving into that, I would start with myself. I would say now looking back, my first few episodes of dealing with depression was in high school. Mm. And for myself, it was dealing with the loss of peers. I think two of the most traumatic were one, coming to school and there was a body still hanging on the football field. And they had a sheet over him, but even now to this day, I still can visualize that experience. And then friends that I grew up with from elementary up to high school died in a car crash, tragically. And I don't know if they think when you're young, you're just resilient and death doesn't impact your life like that, that you don't grieve, that it doesn't make you depressed. I don't know. Because it wasn't something that we really talked about. We had the funeral services at the school. We kind of discussed it among ourselves, but really to deal with how I felt, no, we didn't. Mm-hmm. So what I found for myself dealing with that was I wrote, I journaled a whole heck of a lot. And I didn't realize how dark that the journaling was revealing how sad my heart really was. But I didn't tell my parents. I didn't talk to anybody about what I felt with that loss. And it was just a really weird place. The last death that really took me over was the death of a cousin that was murdered. And y'all, sometimes depression can cause you to have blackouts. Mm-hmm. You really don't know. That day, I don't even know how I drove home. Only thing I remember was waking up in my parents' bed because they said I stepped out the car and collapsed. Depression can be so severe in a person's life that you got to say something to somebody. You got to get help.
Even the grief. Yeah. When you're grieving that hard, you don't realize, what's going on around you. Like, you're aware of it, but you're not. Like, I can speak to that, like, blacking out thing. When my grandfather passed not too long ago, I was waking up out of my sleep. I was awake, but I wasn't awake. And when the news hit me, my entire body shut down. Like, full body systems shut down, dropped, stopped breathing. Mm-hmm. Borderline started seething because that's how in shock my body was. And sometimes people don't tell you that comes with grief sometimes, and it's really hard. Especially when you're young. I remember my senior year, my friend came home. He's like, "Hey, yo, let's go hang out." And I was like, "All right, cool. You're just going to chill at the park. It's just a regular January day." I will never forget this day. This day will forever live in my memories. First murder of 2020 was a friend of mine. And so me and my friend, we were in the car. He was dropping me off at home. And I'm about to get out of the car, and his phone's just going crazy, going crazy. His best friend's calling. Hey, have you spoke to so-and-so? He's like, no. And as soon as I get in the house, my phone starts blowing up. Yo, did you hear so-and-so just passed? So-and-so just passed. I'm like, you're lying. I couldn't get out the front door fast enough. Because that was his ride or die. Like, their whole friend group was super, super close. And so to find out that, it was really hard. It hit a lot of us really hard because he was the most outgoing, bubbly person. His girlfriend had just had a baby. Like, he was on the up and up. He was doing really good in school. He was playing football. He was minding his business. And he had went to go visit his peoples. And nobody could have told us that he wasn't going to make it back home. So when that grief hits you, it hits hard. And sometimes you don't realize you're grieving until you realize you're grieving. Another thing with depression, it can kick in a way that you don't notice it's depression. Sometimes it shows up as, oh, I just like to sleep. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm just laying in bed. That's a sign of depression. But it's not just you. Like, if sometimes you notice it when you're a busybody and you're just like, oh, I don't want to do anything. You might think of it, oh, I'm just taking care of myself. But the reality is, once you've hit day 3 of like, I'm just in bed and I haven't showered and I haven't done anything, I don't have the energy to, that's a sign of depression.
Depression can also show up as a loss of appetite.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do your day-to-day functions. You try. Mm-hmm. And it looks different in everybody. Yeah. But the one thing that I would say is, acknowledge it. Tell somebody that you're dealing with depression. Tell somebody if you're dealing with suicidal thoughts. Tell somebody if you're really grieving. Grief can lead into depression. Mm-hmm. I recall 2008, 2007, 2008. I lost my last child. Mm. And for me, that sent me into a place of grief like I'd never experienced before. Having carried my child, having to give birth to my child, having to say goodbye to my child, put me like in a tailspin. And what made the grief heavier was having my child at home take it so deep to their heart. And even at that, I couldn't even process her pain because I was so busy focusing on my own. So I would say, recognize the signs, talk to somebody, share what you can, because even with grief and with depression, with grief, you go through stages. Sometimes you're just in shock in the beginning, and then you go through your anger phase. And it's so many components how it can lead from one thing to another. Because I remember 2008, after losing her, I went back to teaching. And one of the things I didn't pay attention to, but others made it aware to me, was you always wear dark clothes. But my clothing was an expression of what I felt in my heart. But at the time, I was just going through the motion, and I didn't realize that I had moved from a place of grief to a place of depression. Mm-hmm. And so I'm working. My husband was just sent over to Iraq, so that added to what I was walking through. And I'm sharing this, and I'm being an open book. I don't mind being an open book, because some of you may not be walking my path, but you're walking your own path. And the truth is, I want you to reach out and get help. There's nothing wrong with therapy. There is nothing wrong with having a coach. There's nothing wrong with going to your doctor and saying what you are dealing with. Get help. No one has to suffer in silence. Too many people leave this earth suffering in silence. That's why suicide rates are so high. because people feel like they have nowhere to turn to, no one to talk or share, because we're in a society that's really selfish. Like, people really be like, I could care less about what you're going through. But I would admonish you, talk to somebody. I don't care. You guys can write in to us. You can email us. I am here because nobody has to suffer by any means in silence. And losing a loved one, losing a child, losing a job, losing a friendship, it hurts.
Man, it hurts so bad. Like, I can speak to losing a friendship. I just went through this recently. Like, this friendship lasted so long, like, you know, deep in each other's lives, like around all the time. And when the friendship ended, it ended over something that it didn't have to. But at the same time, understanding when you're outgrowing a person, you have to sometimes, like with friendships, you have to take into consideration that if a person's not growing at the same rate you are, I don't care how much you love them, they're dead weight. Like, you can love somebody from a distance, but do not carry them with you because it's just going to drag you down.
Right.
And that was a hard thing for me to really grasp. Like, it was so hard that, like, I boo-hoo cried for like 2 weeks straight. Like, physically sick to the point of, like, I couldn't keep food down because I was grieving this relationship so hard. Like, this was my buddy. Like, I could call you on a dime. Like, we could talk about whatever. Like, you want to go get food? Let's go get food. Like, you want to listen to music? Let's just jam out. Like, that type of friendship. And some people be like, oh, friendships, you know, that when you lose a friend, it's never that deep. Like, no, baby, friendship, there's nothing that hurts worse than a friendship breakup. I don't care what nobody says. Like, friendship breakups in relation, like, your significant other, it's the same type of pain because you share that same type of intimacy, if not more, with your friends. And because you're doing life together every day, day in, day out, you're, you know, you have these core memories with these people and they're just gone. Like, I had a friend in high school that was my best friend. We talked every day. We did music together and got in a relationship. A significant other didn't like me. Felt like I was a threat. And I was like, bro, I don't see them that way. Like, it's not like that. But to them, it was like that. So I got dropped cold turkey. But I still had to go to school where his little sisters went. So I'm seeing your family, your siblings, your mom. Like, I'm seeing everybody every day. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, so when I finally graduated, you know, my younger brother went back to that same school as a senior. First person I see going into his orientation, he's like, sis, it's my last one. Go with me. And I was like, all right, whatever. You know, it's your last one. It's fine. I'll go with you. Core memories, you know? And the first person I see is his mom. And it was so awkward and so uncomfortable. But at the same time, it felt like home. Like, oh, that's my dudes, you know? And you see how big the siblings have gotten. And you're like, oh, wow. Like, oh my gosh, you guys were so little last time I saw you. And the first thing that their mom said was, yeah, they got married and they're overseas in the military. I was like, oh, okay. You know, are they okay? You know, he was like, yeah, they got injured. So we're just trying to wait to see when they can get back, when they can come back to the States. But we don't know because they're supposed to be shipping out to somewhere else soon. So injured and overseas. And that hit me hard. It hit me so hard, like a Mack truck. It was like just the grief of losing a whole friendship was just hitting all over again. And so many people were like, oh, it's not that deep. I was like, no, baby, she told me that. And literally not even 5 minutes later, I was on the phone with my mom, boo-hoo, crying. Oh my God, this is what's going on. Because I'm a military kid. So my dad, understanding what it means to have family over there is very different than somebody who doesn't understand what that life is like. That I don't know when I'm going to get a call. I don't know if you're alive. I don't know if you're safe. Like, that instant anxiety, anxious feeling it's real. But to know that somebody you cared about so deeply was injured, it was too much. But I had to put on a smile because this day is not about me. It's about my little brother. And walking around with my brother and seeing all these teachers that I had and that he has now, and seeing people that I went to school with that were freshmen my senior year, and they're all like, "Oh my God, we miss you," and I'm like, that's cool, because I'm trying to be surface when, in all reality, I just wanted to go crawl in my bed, and grieve the situation over again. So don't ever let somebody tell you when grief is going to hit, because really you don't get over it, you get stronger. The situation never gets easier. You just get stronger. But every situation in grieving different things hits differently.
It does. And allowing yourself space to heal. Because when you don't acknowledge how it impacts you, it can all of a sudden hit you like a ton of bricks in that moment. Just listening to you talk, it made me think about grieving friendships that I've had over time. And even in grieving friendships, like you say, you outgrow people. You don't see eye to eye, and it's okay to acknowledge, I grow. I love you as a friend, but we're not in the same place. We're going different directions in life right now. And it's okay to acknowledge that. Will you grieve? Will you be depressed? Will you miss the times that you have? Yes.
For sure.
And I think that's one of the, like you said, one of the biggest misconceptions. We always associate grief with somebody dying, but friendships die. Things change. Like, besides losing my friends in high school, one of the other hardest times I had was grieving the end of my parents' marriage. My parents had been married 20 years, and I just knew my parents would be married forever. And them separating, them going through the divorce process, it took me through a place of grief. It took me through a place of depression. It took me emotionally and mentally in the place of, shoot, I don't believe in love. What's love got to do with it? It took me in a lot of different aspects. But what I learned in that process and what I hated was, just because your child is grown, when your parents go through a divorce, don't act like that divorce does not impact your child, because it does. Are they grieving? Yes, they are. Will they be depressed? Yes, they will be. And it's a healing process for them as well as the parents, because what they had, they're hurting and they're grieving. So, for a moment, because we've been on a roll so far today, we're going to take a short, brief break for our commercials, and we thank you for tuning in. Hey, you. Yes, you. I know life is lifing, and sometimes you feel like, what am I going to do? Well, listen, when you feel like, hey, I'm stuck, I don't know how to get from here to there, well, guess what? Give me a call. Coach Charletta at Masterpiece Services and Solutions at 904-274-0947. Let's work together. Let's find the tools that will help you come up with solutions to your problem. Welcome back to Heart, Me and More. Y'all, we were talking about some serious things. Especially we ended on divorce as a area that brings grief and brings depression to children who deal with parents who are divorcing. And never say that divorce doesn't impact your children, because the truth of the matter is you two are hurting and you're dealing with your own stuff, but you're not thinking about what the children are dealing with. I myself, I was angry because of it, and your kids may feel anger. But one thing about it is, if you don't deal with where you are, if you don't forgive, because yeah, we have to forgive the parents. Yes, y'all divorced, but we got to forgive y'all because we feel some type of way, period. And don't say your kids don't, because they do. But I had to forgive. And in not forgiving, when your children are not really dealing with things, they will repeat the pattern of your lives. And if you're not really talking to them and giving them space and understanding they're hurting just like you, it's causing more damage than you could ever imagine. Um, that's just a sidebar. That's my experience, and nobody can take that away from me. And I've seen it happen to other kids that have experienced the same thing. So,
but not just in like divorces. Everybody is like, people who come from single parent homes are always like, oh, a 2-parent home is better than a single parent home. That is bullcrap. I'm gonna say that loud and clear for the people in the back. That is bullcrap. Because you could be in the house with 2 parents and it's like being in a
chaotic.
Like it's just absolute chaos. And on the outside, everybody's like, oh, but you got both of your parents. I got both of my parents, but they arguing every night. Like, we like, can we get some noodles? And they too busy yelling at each other to worry about what we eat. And some people don't realize that, but sometimes 2 homes are better than 1. But some people ain't ready for that conversation. But also to understand that just because something looks one way on the outside, it's not always like that on the inside. Mm-hmm. So some people are very much Pinterest people. And what I mean by Pinterest people is the pictures are beautiful, but the inside is empty. It's a shell.
Yeah.
It's what I want you to see.
Yes. Most
people who know me, they see me as the bubbly person, the outgoing person, but have no idea of my story. I'm an open book. You can ask me any question you want to, and I'm gonna tell you the truth, straight up. What happened. I have no shame in my story. I've made mistakes. I am human. It is what it is. Oh, I heard this about you. It's probably true. I don't know. Depends. But either way, I'm not shy about any of it. And some people are like, oh, but you're supposed to be like this because you're a pastor's kid. Shout out to the pastor's kids who are authentic in who they are and not trying to be picture perfect for the church. Shout out to y'all, because it's hard. Because with being a PK, you there's so much that's expected of you, which can cause depression. Because everybody expects you to be perfect. You're supposed to smile and wave and not make mistakes. You're not supposed to be the one with an abusive boyfriend. That's not who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be the one to get in a relationship and get married right away. Nah, that's not reality. It works for some people, but it's not reality for a lot of us. And with being a pastor's kid, like in my opinion, or even just a church kid, period, when your parents are active in the ministry, everybody looks at you differently. It's like you're under a microscope. Mm-hmm. Everybody's looking at every little detail of your life. Like, oh, did you see her? She was with this person. This literally happened to me my junior year of high school. I was out with a friend of mine. And that was my senior year. It was my senior year. I was out with a friend. And I went to a football game. It's a football game. I'm out minding my business with my friends. And a person in the church saw me. And that Sunday, she said, I seen you out with your friend in them short shorts. I should have pulled you by your hair to get your attention. I'm sorry, who? Do what? If you saw me and you felt like something was wrong, you could have spoke to me then, but you didn't. Mm-hmm. And, as a kid, because I'm a child, I'm like, that's uncomfortable, that's a little suspicious, that's weird. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's uncomfortable. It definitely added on to the things that I had already experienced as a kid that made me super conscious of everything that I did. Super critical in where I felt like I had to be a shell of a person, which made me depressed. I functioned in depression for a very long time and gave me a lot of anxiety.
Well, you opened up a whole lot, but we're getting ready to wrap up. And we thank you. We shared a whole lot on depression today, but we want you to join back in. We're going to pick back up, especially dealing with abuse and relationships. And we'll talk more about it later in another episode. But thank you for joining us on Heart to Heart, Mia Moore, from our heart to your heart. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.